Hello everyone, welcome to our 10th video in the Python for Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning series. My name is Dheeraj Chaudhary and today we are going to cover while loops which provide a different approach to iteration compared to the for loops we discussed in our previous video. While loops are condition based rather than sequence based compared to for loop, giving you more flexibility in certain situations. As we will see this makes them particularly useful for scenarios where you don't know in advance how many iterations you will need. A common situation in many artificial intelligence algorithms like gradient descent or iterative optimization. So, while loops are condition control loops that repeatedly execute a block of code as long as a specified condition remains true. Unlike for loops, which iterate over a known sequence, uh, like known sequences, while loops are ideal for situation where the number of iterations are not predetermined, like we saw in our for loops. You keep looping until a dynamic condition changes, such as reaching convergence in an algorithm or receiving specific user inputs by using an input method in your code. So in machine learning, while loops are often used in iterative processes like gradient descent, where you update parameters until they meet a stopping criteria. They are also useful in data pre-processing tasks such as continuous processing input until clean data is received. The power of while loop lies in their flexibility. They adapt to changing conditions during execution. So let's understand the common loop syntax of while loop. So the syntax of while loop in Python is very simple, as you can see on the screen. It starts with the keyword while, followed by a condition and a colon. That is how you define a while block condition, and then an intended. So after you define this, you have one indentation where you define the code block to be executed. So to write an effective while loop, you need four important components. The first important component is the initial setup, that is initialization, where you define variables before the loop begins. Then you move to the second key component, which is a condition, where a Boolean expression that controls the loop execution. Then comes the code block that we write, that is the logic that runs when the condition is true. And update, the fourth key component, it is used to change variables inside the loop so the condition eventually becomes false and the loop ends. So the update step is crucial. Without it, the loop may run forever. It will be an infinite loop. In this example, what we will see, let me take you. So in this example, I will show you how we write this with this four key components that we discussed, that is initialization, condition, code block, and update step. So first we go ahead and we define our a variable, which is the initialization phase. Then we go ahead and define a condition where we say while count is greater than 0. So till the time count is greater than 0, then and only then it is going to run, otherwise it is going to go ahead and end the loop. Then once I define the condition, this is the code block that we define with an indentation inside the while loop. That is how you write the code. And this is the update step, which helps the counter to reduce to 0, because if the counter becomes 0, 0 is greater than 0, then and only then this while loop is going to end. That is why update step is very important. Now I will go ahead and run this and let's understand what's happening. So by default, I have given a basic count uh, over here, which is equal to 5. So when I say while count is greater than 0, it starts from 5. So currently the value of count is 5. Then it starts with 5, then it comes down. And over here I say count is equal to count minus 1. So this 5 becomes 4. Again it iterates and print this. Again it iterates and print this. And again it iterates and prints this. So till the time my count does not become 0 by the update step, till that time this loop is going to run and then it is going to end and print this message which is outside the while loop. This says that this has left the loop and now it is outside the while loop. Let's understand one more example with the same structure that I was talking about right now. So what this code does is this code keep asking the user to enter a password until they type the correct one. And what is the correct password? The correct password I have actually hard coded over here, which is OpenAI123. It starts with an empty password, that is initialization. So over here you will see as the initialized variable, I have kept the password as empty. Okay, the while loop checks if the entered password is not equal to this value. Okay, so inside the loop it prompts going ahead and saying enter the password. Once the correct password is entered, the loop is going to end and it prints access granted. So let's go ahead and try it. So I will go ahead and run this, and over here you can see it is asking enter password. So I am typing the password ABC, enter, nothing. Okay, so the loop is never ending. After ABC I say XYZ. See at the top, again nothing is happening. Now when I go ahead and copy this and I am going to paste it over here and enter, the loop is ended. This is how you can use while loop for an intentional infinite loop where you want to check a specific user password, and based on that it is going to perform the iteration. Now let's see what's next. So now we are going to talk about condition evaluation. So in while loop, the condition is checked before each iteration. If it's true, the loop body runs. If it's false, the loop ends and control moves to the next statement after the loop. As we saw, after our while loop was completed, it came outside and printed the statement that process finished, right? So the condition can be any expression that results in a Boolean value that is true or false. So this condition might be, let's take a simple option of comparison operator. So let's do it one by one. So let's talk about comparison operator with an example. So how condition evaluation work? So let's see that in a, let me just minimize this, and yeah, here we are. So in comparison operator, what I am doing is, if you see less than, this is the comparison, the first one, that is the example that we are having. What I am saying is x is equal to 0. Now x is less than 5, print x is and the x value. What is the value of x once you come inside the loop? Okay, so we started with the value of x is equal to 0. Now the condition is true, that's why it came inside, and it is looping over here, and every time I am doing a incremental, that is x plus 1. So every time it iterates through the loop, it keeps on adding the plus 1 increment to the value of x. So first time x is 0, then it comes to this point and it says 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. Next time when it loops, the value is still 1, then it will be 1 plus 1, which will be 2. And that is how the iteration work, and that is how you can use comparison operator as part of this code for while loop. Now let's go ahead and understand how you can use the Boolean variable in while loop. So this code uses a Boolean variable flag to control the loop. As you can see, I have given flag is equal to true. So it starts with true, and the default count is set to 3. So the while loop runs as long as the flag remains true, as we saw in the above code. Inside the loop, it prints the current countdown. Okay, countdown value that we have, and it is decreased. That is, we are in our last code we were using incremental. Over here we are using decremental, where every time it loops, it is going to reduce the value of count by 1. So when the count reaches 0, the condition if count is equal to 0 becomes true, then the flag is set to false, which stops the loop, and this shows how a Boolean variable can be used to manage loop execution. So let's see. So first our count is 3. Okay, when I say while flag is true, by default the value is true, it is going to go inside, and it is saying counter -1, that is decrement 3 by 1. So I have decremented 3 by 1. if count is equal to 0, if I increment 3 by 1, it is going to become 2. So it is not going to go in the conditional statement. Then it will go again and iterate that, and it is going to print now the value is 2. 2 minus 1 becomes 1. Again, count is equal to 0. No. Again it will iterate. And once it iterates and if says if count is equal to 0. So now 0 is equal to 0. We have changed the value of this flag which has been defined over here. Now from true it became false and the loop has ended. Now let's talk about how you can use complex expressions where we are using multiple expressions together, that is less than and greater than. So over here we are using comparison operator as well as we are using conditions, that is and over here. Okay, so this code so the loop runs as long as the conditions x being less than 5 and y being greater than 0 are true. It starts with x is equal to 1 over here and y is equal to 10. Then each iteration it prints their value with this print statement, and then it comes down and there is a incremental of x plus 1 for the x value. So every time it iterates, it is going to increment x value by 1, and every time it iterates, it is going to decrement the y value by 2. So this is going to run till the time x is less than 5. Okay, so till the time x does not becomes less than 5, it is going to keep on running, and y is greater than 0, it is going to keep on running. So as soon as y becomes less than 0 and x become greater than 5, it is going to run. So over here we are having multiple conditions. So you will see first the value of x was 1 in the first iteration, y was 10, that is the default values. In the second iteration, incremental plus 1 it became 2, decremental minus 2, from 10 it became 8. Then incremental plus 1 became 3, decremental minus 2 becomes 6. Then x again incremental 4 and y is 4. Now at this point, if you see, let's see the first value, x is less than 5. So over here x is less than 5, yes, the value is met, it is true now, and y is greater than 0. Yes, now y is also greater than 0. So till now y was already greater than 0. If you see, but this was, if you see, this was less than 5. So this conditions was meeting, that's why it was running. Now as soon as this condition changed, it went ahead, because the next iteration, if I do x plus 1, it becomes 5. 5 is less than 5? No, that's why it broke over here. And y is equal to 4. So y becomes 2, even though this condition is matching, but still it has to be true and true. That's why this it becomes false and it came out of this loop. So let's see what's next. So now we are going to talk about infinite loops. So infinite loops runs endlessly because their condition never meets, never becomes false. So they are intentional in cases like server processes, game loops, or event listeners that I will show you gradually at the end of this video, and usually include a break or exit statement. So we would be also using a break on exit statement in our upcoming examples. But accidental infinite loops are bugs and they are dangerous, which is often caused by missing updates or a faulty condition. They can freeze your program, but you can also stop them by pressing Ctrl plus C if you are running them from the terminal. If you are running them from a notebook, as I am, you can stop it from the stop button that you have in the terminal for that specific cell. So now let's understand this intentional loops with an example. So if I go ahead and close this, and let's talk about, okay. So over here, what we are doing is this codes create an intentional loop where we are using while is true by default, okay, which keeps running until user types quit. So this condition is going to be true till the time user is not going to type quit. As soon as he types quit, what we are going to do is we are going to use break and we are going to come out of this loop. So let's go ahead and run this. So I have So this process has started running. Okay, if you can see the seconds over here. Now if I go ahead and say uh, it is quit or exit, so what I will do, I am going to go ahead and say quit, exiting loop. Okay, and if I go ahead and instead of quit I say don't quit, it is still going, it is just typing the value of mine, but the code is still running, right? If I again write quit, now the loop has exited. So this is how you can use infinite loops for your use case. Now now this is actually a real infinite loop where I am not using break statement. So this is just going to go and run as a never ending process. If you are going to run this as part of inside your terminal with the python file, that is .py file, at that time use control C. But if you're going to run it over here, at that time the way I am using the execute cell, so from here only I can stop it. So that is the beauty of using the Jupyter notebook. So as soon as I click on run, what it is going to do is, so this code simulates an event listener with an infinite loop. So the function that you have, oh sorry, that is the next one. I will go ahead and run this. Now you can see this is a never ending loop. If I just make it as scrollable, see, it is just going on and on and on. So this is accidental infinite loop where by mistake I made this code of mine as comment. If I uncomment it, next time I run it, so now I have stopped it, this has stopped. If I go ahead and uncomment this, okay, now if I say counter +1, now if I try to run it, see, so if again I comment it, this is known as accidental infinite loop. Now let's go ahead and understand our third use case, that is a event listener. So in event listener, what we are doing is, so the function listen for event ask the user to press Y to simulate an event and N to stop an event. Okay, Y to simulate an event and N to stop an event. So in the loop, if user doesn't press Y, it prints stopping event loop. Okay, and breaks out of the loop by using the break statement. If the user does press Y, it is going to print event received over here. So let's go ahead and run it. So this is the function that we have defined. Okay, now it is saying that press Y to simulate event and N to stop. So let's go ahead and first simulate Y. It is simulating. So as soon as I pressed Y, now my loop has begun. Okay, now as soon as I press N, stopping the event loop. So by pressing Y, I start it. By pressing N, I stop it. Now let's see what's next. So now we are going to talk about how we are going to use break statements. Okay, so the break statement lets you exit a loop immediately as soon as you meet the parameters of it being defined inside a conditional loop or inside a loop directly. So skipping the rest of the iteration, Python stops the innermost loop. So if you are using the break in a nested loop, at that time Python stops the innermost loop and continues with the code that follows. So it usually it is useful for early exits when a condition is met. In our example, what we're going to do is we are going to break after finding the first number is divisible by 7 and 11, and after entering the correct password before hitting the max attempts. So over here, what I will do, I will take you to the example and I will show you. So this is our first example. In our first example, what we are going to do is we are going to see we are saying that find the first number divisible by 3 and 5. Okay, so it is going to be divisible by 3 and 5. So we are using two conditions. When both of these conditions are going to meet, then and only then we are going to go ahead and exit. So what it is going to do is, so we are going to use a range function over here, which will start from 1 and end to and at 100 minus 1, that is 99. No, so Once I start my loop, what it does is first it will get the number 1. Then 1 is divisible by 3 is equal to 0, and 1 is divisible by 5 is equal to 0. No, it is not. So that is how it is going to go ahead and keep on running until it is going to get the value. So over here, when it got a number which is divisible by 3 as well as divisible by 5, then we say that print found the number which was divisible by both of them, and we have used a break statement which brings us out of this loop, and we have said found 15. Now let's see another code. So what this code does is, so this code goes through a list of words one by one. Over here you will see we have 4 words inside this list. So if it finds the word band, it prints block content found and stops immediately using break. Otherwise it prints processing followed by the word. So this is usually useful for stopping a program if restricted or unwanted content appears in that use cases. So if I go ahead and run this, so see, till the time first it went and it checked the first word hello, it is going to process, no issues. Word world, it is going to process, no issues. Band, yes, it is a blocked content and it is meeting our conditional statement inside the loop, and we go ahead and we use the break statement and come out of the loop. Now another example. So another example what we are going to do is, so in this code we are running an infinite loop that keeps on asking the user to enter a command. So if the user types exit in any case, like any case means lowercase or uppercase, like exit or exit. So in that case, what it is going to do is the loop is going to print exiting loop and stops using the break statement that we have defined over here. Otherwise, it prints the value that we have entered as part of the input that we are providing. So this is a common pattern for interactive programs that should keep running until the user chooses to quit. So over here, if I run this, okay, I am not going to type exit. I am going to say start. It is running. Okay, it is. So whenever I am not getting the right value that I am looking for, it is just going to keep on printing. I will say start, then I will say stop. It will print it again. Okay, now stop is printed. The loop is still running. Then I say initialize. Again, it is going to be printed. It is not going to stop. Now to come out of that loop, what I'm going to do is, okay, initialize, enter. Oh, so you can see it is printed. Now I am going to go ahead and say exit. Now it is not going to print anything. It will end our loop, and exiting loop has been printed. We are out of our loop. Now let's understand this with one more example for break statement, where what this code is going to do is, this code is going to search for a specific target number that we have provided. So this is the list of numbers. So right now it is only having 6 elements, but in real time you have thousands of numbers and you have to target for a specific number that you have to find. So in that case, what it does is it goes through each number in order from left to right. If it finds the target that we have mentioned, that is the target variable, that is 7, it will print found target and the program will stop. And if the number is greater than the target, it breaks early without printing anything, because the target can't appear later in the sorted list. In this case, seventh isn't in the list, if you see. So what it is going to do is, so the loop exits when it reaches 8. So in sorted list, it goes from ascending to descending. So now if says for number in sorted list, so this list is sorted. Okay, so now it is going to say if number is greater than target, break. If number is equal to target, break. So we have two conditions. So if we get the number 7, then it will say found target. If it crosses the limit, it crosses it goes above 7, it will be greater than 7, then also it is going to go ahead and break. So see, now it has, the program has ended, it has not printed anything. Let's go over here and say 7 value passed. So now see, so we don't have 7, that's why it is not able to find 7. But as it is going searching from a sorted list from ascending, when it goes to 0, first it will see 2, no, 4, no, 6, no, then 8. 8 is greater than 7. It stopped immediately. Okay. Uh, so it is not going to go ahead and keep on searching in an infinite loop. We have used a break statement in this manner over here. Okay. Now, let's see what's next. So next we are going to talk about the continue statement, which skips the current iteration for a loop and moves to the next one. So unlike break, it doesn't exit the loop. It simply jumps back to the top. So if you are inside a nested loop, if you have to skip a certain part, you can skip that and come back outside to the outer loop from the inner loop. Okay, you can use it when you want a specific uh, you want to skip any specific cases without complicating your logic. So in our example we are going to see that. So let's see that with an example. So our first example of continue is, we are going to skip the even numbers and only print the odd numbers. Now how we are going to do that? So in this code you see that we loop through numbers from 1 to 5, starting from 1, a range of 1, and ends with 6 minus 1, that is 5, and we only print the odd ones. So for each number it checks if the number is even by using the conditional statement in if, where num is divisible by 0 equal to is divisible by 2, and if it is, it uses continue to skip the rest of the loop and move to the next number. Okay, that is how it comes out of this loop, and it prints the odd number over here. Okay, see, so first the value is 1, it will come 1, 1 is divisible by 2, no, it will continue and it will print this. Okay, then again, if I go 2, 2 is divisible by 2, it will continue and it will print this. So this is how it keeps on running by using the continue statement. Now let's see the next example where we are skipping where we skip processing if the data is missing. So if we for example, if you see over here, none is a null value, so we are going to skip those and we are only going to process the values which are present. So in that case, what this code does is, it goes through a list of data values one by one. If the value is none, it skips that value using the continue, and for all the other value it prints processing followed by the number. So if I go ahead and run this, so what it does is, so for loop, in this for loop I say value in data. So value is going to be one value from this. So if the value is none, continue. Okay, so we are skipping none. Now that is why apart from those values, it is only processing the values which are the real values. It is not a none keyword or a null value. Now let's understand another example. What we are going to do is, over here is, we are going to print non-zero values only from the provided list of elements in this list. So for that, what we are saying, if num is equal to 0, continue. So it is going to skip whenever 0 is there, and it is going to go ahead and print the other ones which are not zeros. That is how you can use another way of using continue statement. Now last but not the least, what this code is going to do is, it is going to skip short words. How we are skipping the short words? So the word which is having a length of less than 3 characters, we are going to skip it, and which is going to have length of more than 3 characters, we are going to print them and say that those are the accepted word for us. So if I go ahead and run this, you will see AI less than 3 skipped, less than 3 skipped, only machine learning has been printed over here. So let's go back to our screen and let's see what is next. So the next is the else clause. In a while loop, it runs only if the loop finishes normally, not if it exists via a break. So this helps distinguish between full completion and early exit. For example, when you're checking if the number is prime, if you break on finding a divisor, the else won't run. But if no divisor are found, the else confirm it's prime. So this is a clean way to handle post loop logic without needing extra flags or conditions. Maybe I can explain that better with an example. So let's understand that with an example of search for a prime number in a range. So over here, what we are doing is what the code is going to do. So the code is going to check if the number is 13 is a prime number using a while loop. So it tries dividing n, that is 13, by every number from 2 up to n minus 1. So the divisor is 2, okay, up to n minus 1. Every time the divisor will keep on changing till the time it is divisible by 13. Okay, if it finds any divisor, that is n% divisor equal to 0, it prints that n is not a prime number and exits. The loop exits the loop using the break statement that we have mentioned. If no divisors are found, the else block runs only when the loop wasn't broken, confirming that the n is prime. So if I go ahead and run this, you will see 13 is prime. So this is how, instead of using break, we went ahead and we performed this statement, that is the else statement, when a break was not performed as part of this while loop. Okay, now let's understand with this another example where process a sequence with a confirmation. So what we are going to do is over here is this code is going to go through each iteration in the data list using a while loop. So it starts from an index that is 0 that we have mentioned as part of our initialization, and it prints each value one by one. So after each print, it increases the value by 1 to move to the next item. So let's see how it is printing the value, so you will be able to understand it better. So once all items are processed, the else block runs and prints a final confirmation message. So over here, after the while has finished running, means finished its process, and you still want to run something else, so you can also use a while else. So after over here, I have processed all the values from 1 to 5. That was my task, but after processing I wanted another condition, another print statement, uh, saying that the loop has completed successfully. In that case, what I have done, once this was completed, I went ahead and I have printed all items processed successfully while the loop has ended. That is how you can use the else clause. Now let's understand difference between while loop and for loops. So choosing between for and while loop depends on your use case that you're going to use. So you can use a for loop when you're iterating over a known sequence, as we know, that list, string, or something, or a fixed number of times that you have to run a loop. So it's clean, efficient for strings, uh, list, or ranges. If you are going to use at that time, for loops is the best. And you use a while loop when the number of iteration is unknown and depends on a dynamic condition, like we saw when we were waiting for a user input, or user input to provide a specific keyword. Till the time is not providing the specific keyword, we were keep our program was running and running and running. It was iterating, it was not stopping. So for those kinds of scenarios, till the time your user is not going to give the right password, you are not going to allow him to enter the website. In those kinds of use cases, you will use while loop. Now in short, you can use for loop when you know how many times you have to loop, predefined criteria you have. And you use while loop when you need to loop until something changes, like we saw the example of the password verification. So now this is the most important part, and I am going to cover example for each of them. So there are different types of while loop patterns that you should be aware of. One is input validation loop, then processing until completion, event waiting loop, convergence, resource management, back of algorithms, and game loop. Let's see everything one by one. We will first start with input validation loop, which keeps on asking until the input is given. So let's jump to our screen and start with our first. So this is the input validation loop. What this code is going to do is, so this code keeps on asking to enter a valid age until the type a non-negative number. So it starts with a age of -1, which is less than 0 by default. So the while loop while loop runs at least once at the start. So inside this loop, it uses try try and except block that we have not yet seen. I know this is the advanced part, but just for example, I will just go ahead and run this, and you will see it is asking me for a value. Okay, so it is now it is saying enter a valid age between 0 or above. So if I enter the valid age between 0 and above, the loop is going to continue. So it is when if I say 18, okay, so as soon as the value is met, the loop has ended. But next time when I go ahead and run this again, and if I say uh, -1, it is not stopping. Then I say -20, it is not stopping. Till the time you don't give a positive value from 0 to more. So this kind of input validation loop can be used in that case when you want a user to only provide a age which is positive in number. Now I will just go ahead and provide again 18, and it is going to go ahead and stop. Now that was our input validation, where it continues until a valid input is received. Okay, now I will just go ahead and talk about our next one, which is processing until completion. So it will process until all data is been processed that you are targeting for. So in this, what we are doing is, so this code that you see on the screen, this one. So this will process a list of tasks one by one that we have mentioned, that is load data, clean data, and train, until the list become empty. So it is using a while loop that runs as long as there are no task left as part of our list. That is our understanding. So inside the loop, what exactly we are doing is we are using a pop method. So at every iteration, it is going to remove one of the element from our list, making this list empty. And as soon as the list becomes empty, it is going to go ahead and end the loop. So if I go ahead and run this, see, so first time what it did is task pop. So it went ahead. If I just go ahead and print tasks, you will see it is going to be empty list now. See, so that is how you can use this processing until completion. So till the time all the elements inside the list is not being processed, you it is going to keep on looping. That is how you use while loop as one of the while loop patterns, that is processing until completion. Now we are going to use event waiting loop that will continue until the event occurs. So in this, what we are doing is, so this code waits for a specific user action before continuing. So it keeps asking to user to type start. So till the time I don't say start the machine, it is not going to start the machine. It is going to wait for my instruction, so that when I say start the machine, then and only then it is going to start the machine, but it is going to be ready to take my instruction. So if I go ahead and run this, see, it is waiting. It is in the loop waiting for me to provide some input. As soon as I provide the input over here, so by default event triggered I have kept false. So while event not triggered, it is running because I have not triggered the event now. So now what it is saying, that type start to trigger the event. When I say start, then and only then the loop will end. So if I say start, then event triggered. So what we were doing as part of this while loop pattern, we were waiting for the user input. So the program was running, it was just waiting that that guy is going to go ahead and provide me a command, I have to wait for him. So he's waiting for us, and till the time we don't give any input, it is going to be running in an infinite loop. Okay. Now let's see another example, that is approximation or convergence. So over here, what we are doing, this is a complex one. So in this code actually uses a Newton's method to approximate the square root of 25. So what it is going to do is it starts with initial guess, that is half of the number, and keeps improving the guess until the result is close enough within a smaller error margin defined by the tolerance. So right now we are trying to end the loop when we are trying to reach the nearest value, not the perfect value but the nearest value, and that is why it is known as convergence or approximation. Okay, so the loop keeps running as long as the square root of the guess is not close enough to the original number. And what is the original number that you see over here? Is the original number is 25. So it has given the closest square root of 25 over here. So approximately square root is 5. That is the guess. Okay, now let's understand what's next. Next is resource management. It continues until resources are exhausted. So what we will do in this is, this in this code we are going to use a simple resource management scenario where limited numbers of tokens are provided to perform an action. And in that case, what we'll do, it starts with 3 tokens. So as you see in initialization, I have said 3 tokens. So it starts with three token, and it is going to use a while loop to perform an action while the tokens are still available. So the tokens are 3. So till the time it is greater than 0, it is going to iterate. Once it is not, then, so as soon as the tokens are exhausted, so the first time when I come into the loop, I take, I exhaust 1 token, then remaining 2, then I exhaust 1 more token, then remaining 1, then I exhaust 1 more token, and at the end the remaining is 0. 0 is equal to 0. It is going to end because I have utilized all the tokens which was in the pool available for me to be utilized as part of my resource consumption. So this is going to run 3 times. See, first time I got 3 tokens. Okay, then I used 1, then I was left with 2, then I used 1, then I was left with 1, and once I used all the 3 tokens, it went ahead and ended the loop. Now, the next one is backup algorithm. So in this, we retry with increasing delays. So we are using delay over here, by using which what we do is, the system tries an operation multiple times, increasing the delay after each failed attempt. Whenever we fail, it is going to, every time it is going to add a delay. So it starts with 1 second delay and tries up to 5 minutes. So suppose if any specific suppose if we are going ahead and checking if our website is running or not, I'm going to check until it is giving me the response. So when I go and check if my Google is up and running, so if I ping Google, it is not replying to me, my loop is running. Again I will ping, again I will ping, I will keep on pinging in some time, and till the time I get the response. So what we are doing over here is, first of all, we are giving the attempts is 0 and max attempt 5 times we will try, and with different delays. So suppose while attempts is less than this while loop is going to run. As soon as we reach the max attempt, it is going to fail. So what we do is, if success, break attempt plus 1. So and we are going to apply a delay over here. So if I run this, so first attempt, see, now second attempt, and third attempt, fourth attempt, see, now the time has increased. So every time it attempts, it waits for some time, then it goes ahead and perform the next one. Now see, it is still running because the delay has been increased for the last one. Now you will see 5 attempts were made. So first time I went, I checked if Google is accessible. No. I again try to attempt, but with some delay. Then I again tried to attempt with some delay. So I kept on increasing my delay so that, because I know many a times a server is down, it might take time to come back. So in that case, I can use this backup algorithm where I am increasing my delay for every ping that I am performing to see if my Google server is up and running or not. Now, what's next? Last but not the least, now we are going to have the game loop. So now we are going to go ahead and see the game loop. So this code simulates a simple game loop that keeps running until the player types quit. So the variable that you see over here, by default, we have kept the playing variable as true. So as soon as we run the code, it is going to start the loop and it will make it active. So on each iteration that it performs as part of the loop, the program asks user for input. So for example, uh, if I run this, see, first iteration started, it is asking me for input. Okay. And uh, waiting for my command. If I say yes, which is not quit or exit, it is running, and it is what it is doing is action is equal to input. If I don't if I go ahead and say quit, it will exit. If I am not saying quit, then it is going to say game state updated. Okay, now it has entered the next loop. After I said yes, it said okay, game state updated. Now I will say again no, again it has entered the next loop. So every time I go ahead and say like on each iteration, the program will ask me the user input as you saw. So if the user types quit, then the value of playing will become false and the loop will end. Otherwise, if I print something else, you can see it is going to give me game state updated, and it continues, which is like mimicking a running game that waits for a player's action. So when you start a game and till the time you don't perform an action, your game is going to wait. As soon as you perform an action, it event will be triggered, and the game player actions will be performed. So that is how this game loop works. So now to stop this, I will just go ahead and say quit, enter. The loop has stopped successfully. Now let's go back to our slide and talk about the Python's official documentation. So, sorry, where is this? Okay, here. So as you can see, the Python's official documentation, it is actually providing a comprehensive information about while loops and related concepts, which is there with the while loop. And it also talks about the compound statement sections, covering the while loop in detail, including their syntax and behavior. And I encourage you to explore related topics like break, continue statement, the L clause that we spoke about from the documentation itself. So you get more information about those statements that we are using inside our while loop. So thanks everyone for your time and participation. I encourage you to experiment with the concepts we discussed today. And if you have any questions or thought, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I would be happy to answer them. Remember, programming skill improve with practice. So try to apply these concepts in different contexts to solidify your understanding. Join our WhatsApp community, subscribe to our artificial intelligence and machine learning YouTube channel, and sign up for the Tech Inside Neuron newsletter. All the links are displayed on the screen, as well as it is there in the description below. You can use any of them. So see you in the next video. Take care and bye for now.